Between requires two subqueries. Both of these subqueries must be single row returning subqueries. Between really uses two range join comparisons, such as in this diagram down here, where I say that x is greater than 1 and x is less than 10. In terms of between, it would be the expression on the left, which is x, would be between 1 and 10. Therefore, the subqueries in the between conditional comparison situation both require single row returning subquery results. Let's take a look at an example, and I've gone and put a subquery on both sides. All I've done is I've selected a join between act, show and venue, and I've restricted the category ID in the show table to between these two subqueries. The first subquery selects the minimum category ID from the category table, and the second subquery selects the maximum category ID from the category table. So let's go and quickly do those minimums and maximums. The lowest value is 1. And the highest value is 34. We know from looking at the category table that our lowest and highest values are 1 and 34 respectively. What this query will actually do is to find all of these rows, regardless of the category, because we're looking at the lowest and highest categories. There's 152 rows again. We could restrict this and change this, for instance, to something such as 10. So now we're going to find between the minimum category ID, which is 1, and a category ID of 10. That's found a lot fewer rows. There's just one more thing I want you to remember about between. As you can see, we have x greater than 1 and x less than 10. This would exclude values 1 and 10. Between actually does include the values 1 and 10. So the real equivalent of between is actually x greater than or equal to 1 and x less than or equal to 10. I left this out because this is a common misunderstanding. This way it's probably easier to remember because you're being reminded of it. Now let's look at any, some or all. The subquery on the right is allowed to have multiple rows. So it's again, as in and exists, it is membership. Any and some are actually the same thing. All it's saying is that the values on the left are equal to any of the values in here, or some of the values in here, which is the same thing. All is different, and that any and some implies a subset of the subquery on the right, whereas all implies every single value. In other words, every value on the left must be equal to all of every value on the right. So let's do 3 very simple examples, and let's say that the name from the category table can be any of the category IDs in the show table. Now we know we have 7 category IDs in the show table, so we find 7 categories. In this case here we do the same thing, but we do some, and that will give us exactly the same response. Now the all keyword states that every single category retrieved must be in this subquery. Of course that's impossible. I get category ID 1, it is not in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's run that one, and we'll actually get no rows whatsoever. The negated version of that says that it's not in everything. So in actuality we get every row returned that is not in the show table. We know we have a total of 34 categories. We know we have 7 categories that are used in the show table. Take 7 off from 34, you get 27. That's the negated value of all.